Question first for you, because you mentioned August. So the time I came in came after this. And when I came in, it was at a time, this, I'm assuming it was still V1 at the time, and it was just before the move to V2 because of the where roughly I would have done the initial coverage. What happened is, what I recall is they did an initial airdrop, or they attempted to do the airdrops, and then at some point the airdrops weren't working. They had some issues and they had to do it again. And this resulted in a HODL 2.0. But in the wallets, what people were seeing was that, okay, I've got tokens, but then, okay, disregard those. We have to do it a second time. In the Reddit at the time, because we weren't going to Telescan, we were going to Reddit, and we're getting background information from the devs, and they said, well, it's, we got it, we're working it, it's done, don't worry about it, it's going to happen, etc. And the feedback I was giving at the time was, I understand that you're working to fix it. The problem is that a lot of people are very upset. We were hearing from our listeners that, hey, why can't they get this right? Why is it this easy? Now we would learn later with tokens like Paratoken, Satama very recently, that when you do the airdrop method, it just seems like it never goes well. Every project struggles with it, whether it's gas or whether it's network congestion or something seems to get in the way every single time. At the time, though, we weren't seeing a lot of projects do a V2, a V3. It was somewhat of a newer paradigm for people. So I was simply saying, I understand you got issues and you're working to fix them, but is there a way we can try to allay investor concerns with the plan and just communicate? And there was a strong resistance coming from, whether it was devs or admins, I don't know, but there was a strong pushback to just tell people exactly what's going on and own it and say, here's what happened, da 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 da. Can you talk to me about what was going on this airdrop period, which again I think was November, December, this airdrop period where they were struggling with the airdrops, and
Mm.
then ultimately, what was the postmortem? What was ultimately the challenge behind it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, so at that point, I was senior in the project. I had access to the developer. So if we look at the V1, the original token, to 2.0, so the reason they made that move, or we made that move, was because there were a number of things with the V1 contract, obviously with it being immutable, that we couldn't change, that seemed to be, actually, we want to do X, Y, and Z. And one of the challenges, and this is just par for the course, is as soon as you put something out there, somebody else comes along and does something else, and it's like a constant battle for innovation. So a decision was made based on a number of things weren't possible with the V1 contract to move to 2.0. Now, I had the only person that had any insight into or made decisions around that was the dev at that time. So he executed the upgrade of the contract and executed the transition from V1 to 2.0. Um, we were a bit in the dark about that transition because we had no involvement. But what I can say, it was a manual migration. That there wasn't an issue where a set of tokens went out and then they had to do it again. What that I can recall, what happened though was that, and I think I understand why now, because I actually personally oversaw the next transition, which we can discuss as well. But the transition was done via the website. So you'd have your V1 tokens and you'd have to go to the website, and it would burn those tokens and you would receive the 2.0 tokens. And it worked perfectly. The issue was that we had the migration window open for, I think it was 3 to 4 months for people to do that. And that was incredibly problematic because there was issues with arbitrage, and there was so much manipulation going on. But we had to keep it open, and it cost us, I'd say, about $400,000 keeping that window open for 4 months, which is quite a long time. The team did their best to communicate that. I would say, and this is something I'm working on at the moment, that we've historically been a little Telegram heavy and a little bit Discord light, a little bit Reddit light. But I suspect some of what you experience, which I'm not defending, but I'm just trying to give you my honest view on it, was that there was a bit of mystery as to what was going on because there was only one person that really knew at that point. It was a manual move, so a lot of people just didn't kind of pick up on it, despite it was continually discussed in Telegram, it was going out across all our social media networks. There are people that are just entirely disengaged. So we did get people, we still get people even to this day saying, hey, how do I migrate my V1 tokens from 9-10 months ago? So I think that was a challenge, but there was a reason, and it never really bottomed out exactly why it had to be like that. It couldn't be airdropped, but I think it was because the liquidity on V1 was locked, and subsequently I've learned that actually in that scenario the airdrop would have been really problematic because of the liquidity being locked. So, and we kept the token running while that was going on, so it was a real challenge, a technical challenge. We came up with a different solution in 2.0 to move to the new token, and part of the reason we did that is because we moved to a proxy contract. And the reason we're doing that is because I see us as a technology company that's there to generate passive income for people, and our smart contract is part of that. So we want to be able to iterate it, and we've shown some amazing stuff with contract optimization. We've developed DeFi's most sophisticated solution to stacking rewards. We're doing some really cool stuff, but these things are happening over time. So we want to have the proxy contract for that, and we're making sure that what we're doing is very transparent around that. But V1 was manual. That caused some issues. There was a lot of the thing that the community won't know was there was a lot of bad actors out there, other projects and individuals who were trying to manipulate and cause harm at the time, and there was a lot of arbitrage, etc. So I think the team who were dealing with this was slightly in the dark themselves, because the dev didn't really share the ins and outs of some of the reasoning, and we're just dealing with continual FUD, quite frankly, and some of that was coordinated by other projects to try and attack HODL because it was a real market leader at that point. So I think there was a degree of fatigue in the team, because for 4 months, every minute of the day, they were dealing with manual migration questions and queries and challenges, the same stuff. So I think there was a period when, for a few reasons, the team might have been a little triggered, as I know you mentioned in your last video. But I also, looking from both sides, I can understand why. And I think the fact it was manual, which I understand there was a technical reason for that, probably further caused some issue. But that was that's I suppose my reflections and what I see. But I also would finalize by saying that anyone who was anywhere near our Telegram would have just had would have been sick of hearing about it, quite frankly, and the ins and outs of it, because it was just like discussed every 20 minutes for like every day for like 4 months. People outside probably didn't get as much as, in hindsight, we would like to have given. So that's kind of my honest opinion on it.